What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 258. And yeah, I mean, the card as a whole, I don't feel like it's the best card in the world, especially from a pay-per-view standpoint. I'm usually someone that does pay for the pay-per-view, but Dana, you're making it so hard. We have the main event, Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. It could be fun, it could be exciting, or it could be a Kamaru Usman fight. And then we have the co-main event, Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber. We have the ghost of Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch. Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz rematch there. I mean, that's an exciting fight. And then Julian Marquez versus Maki Potolo. I mean, some really questionable fights on the pay-per-view portion, but there are some really good fights scattered out throughout the card. We have Rodolfo Vieira returning, a very good submission guy. Bilal Muhammad, Ricky Simone, Brian Kelleher is going to be a really good fight. Philip Rowe, Gabe Green's going to be an absolute war. So I think the card as a whole, it's decent, but the pay-per-view portion, it does lack a little bit in my opinion. But as always, it's another great opportunity to make some money. It's a great, I like watching fights myself, so it's going to be a fun card. Speaking of making some money, man, I mean, went 9-3 with the picks on last Saturday's card, went 6 out of 8 on the bets, including hitting a Sungwoo Choi decision prop for plus 460. Yeah, it was a fantastic night. Could not have asked to bounce back any better. Needed to bounce back after a really tough UFC 257. And would have been a absolute monster night if Overeem's chin could have held on for just 20 more seconds. But overall, it was fantastic. Really have no complaints from me. And last week's card was fantastic as well. I think last week's card is better than this one, but this card should be good. It should be good. We had a new fight added today. We had Chris Gutierrez versus Andre Yule. You see on the screen here, so should be fun. We're blessed to see some more fights, and that's all you can ask. I mean, these weeks where we don't have fights, it's absolutely boring, at least for me. So I'm glad we have fights. That's all I can say. So as always, since it is UFC 258, it is a pay-per-view. May not feel like a pay-per-view, but it's a pay-per-view. Doing my contest. As always, I do 2 of them. The first contest, what you need to do to enter is first, like the video. Next, subscribe if you are not subscribed yet. And then third, comment below how many significant strikes you think that Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman will combine throughout the fight. Whoever is closest wins. If there is a tie, it will go to the person that commented first. And the other contest I'm going to be doing is the DraftKings contest. To enter that, first, like the video. Second, subscribe if you haven't yet. And then third, comment down your DraftKings username. I'll do anywhere from like 150 to 200 first people to get in. And then $25 to first for both of those contests. Nothing much, just something to show thanks for all the support. And hopefully really trying to reach that 10K goal. I'm trying to get it this month. It's going to be a long stretch, but I think we could do it. And then, as always, my live stream will be on Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. On that live stream, I'll be covering what went on at the weigh-ins, final thoughts, and also giving out free bets and DraftKings advice as well. So lots of good stuff on there, really interactive with the chat. Come hang out. It's a really good time on Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And then you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I will be posting my bets there for free on fight day. And as always, my live streams will always be free. My bets will always be free. But if you do want to support me more, get early access to my bets and other content, you can sign up on the Patreon. The link will be below. With that, you get my model with all the stats for all the fighters. You get my betting breakdown videos. You get my betting article, access to Discord so we can talk on fight night, and the Patreon-only live stream, which is on fight day as well. So with all that out of the way, let's get into UFC 258. I'm excited. Hopefully keep the momentum rolling from last week, because last week was fantastic. So, like I said, this fight was added today, Andre Yule versus Chris Gutierrez. I'm not sure if it's going to be the first fight of the night. I'm sure they're going to switch the bout order around, so don't give me a hard time about that. But let's start with Chris Gutierrez here. He is 29 years old, 5'9", 67-inch reach, 15-3-2, and 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights. His last fight was a draw against Cody Durden, which we'll talk about that a little bit. Andre Yule is 33 years old, 5'8", 75-inch reach. He's going to have an 8-inch reach advantage. 17-6 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. If you guys remember, Andre Yule was supposed to fight Cody Stamann last week, but ended up, I believe, testing. It was a false positive, I believe, and he had to quarantine for like 10 days, something like that. But he's good to go here against Chris Gutierrez, and it should be a pretty exciting fight. So there are no odds out for this fight yet. I heard that it opened up, I want to say Chris Gutierrez minus 170. I don't know if there's truth to that or not, but I do expect Chris Gutierrez to be a slight favorite here. And I will get into a little bit of the numbers. Chris Gutierrez does land 4.23 significant strikes per minute with a really good 58% striking accuracy. Only absorbs 2.11 significant strikes per minute with a 62% striking defense. Fantastic numbers there. Really good striker. Really uses his range and distance well. And it's kind of weird there because he's going to be having an 8-inch reach disadvantage here. So going to be interesting for sure. Andre Yule, on the other hand, lands a decent amount, 4.5 significant strikes per minute with only a 41% accuracy. He does absorb a little bit more than I'd like with 4.2 significant strikes absorbed per minute with only a 54% striking defense. I don't really want to get too much into the grappling stats because I don't really see takedowns from either guy. When I'm looking at these fighters and who they're facing, what I'm looking for is guys that can take them down, work that ground game. Like, I was going to be really high on Stamen against Yule. I was kind of high on Cody Durden against Chris Gutierrez in his last fight because Cody Durden's a really good wrestler, was able to get the draw there. And both these guys kind of struggle traditionally with their ground game. So this is a fight that both guys are going to get the fight they want, and that for that reason, it should be really exciting here. So Chris Gutierrez, not much of a finisher, 54% finish rate. I remember he got that finish on Vince Morales. It was UFC Vegas 1, I want to say, the very first card at the Apex. And he was able to get a leg kick finish. I remember he knocked down Vince Morales like a couple times. They finally stopped the fight. And I was thinking, like, maybe the small cage does not help a guy like Chris Gutierrez, somebody who likes to move around, but the small cage, like, Gutierrez looked fantastic, and it looked like he was the best he ever had, honestly. So in this fight, I do think the small cage is going to favor a guy like Gutierrez. I mean, Andre Yule won't be able to use that reach as well. I think Gutierrez will be able to get on the inside. And haven't even mentioned the big thing here is the leg kicks of Chris Gutierrez, some of the nastiest leg kicks you'll see. I do think he's going to tear those legs up on Andre Yule. And I really want to see the weigh-ins here. Kind of a short notice fight. Obviously, Yule was preparing for a fight already, but I kind of want to see Gutierrez on the scales. And this is going to be at a catch weight, which is something to note as well, at 140. So I do want to see the weigh-ins, but I'm going to favor Chris Gutierrez here. Andre Yule's just a little bit too hittable. I think if this does go to the mat, it's probably Gutierrez getting a takedown. I've seen him get a couple takedowns in the UFC. Maybe he does try to exploit the ground game of Yule, but ultimately this should play out on the feet. I feel like it could be semi-close, but I feel like those leg kicks are going to be a huge factor. Don't necessarily see a finish here, but Yule does slow down a ton. Maybe I could see like a third-round finish for Gutierrez, but ultimately I'm going to take Gutierrez to win by decision. I think the first couple rounds, round and a half is going to be close. But once Yule starts slowing down, Gutierrez does not slow down. I think those leg kicks are going to play dividends, especially if he goes to him early. And like I said, I think the small cage helps out Gutierrez as well. So, like I said, I think Gutierrez open at minus 170. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I don't see a line myself, but that's just what I heard from somebody in my Discord. But give me Chris Gutierrez here by decision. Should be a really fun fight. Next, speaking of fun fights, Miranda Maverick versus Jillian Robertson. So, as you guys remember, I was very high on Miranda Maverick in her last fight against Luana Jojua. Very high, had a decent-sized bet on her as well. And Maverick, she is 23 years old, very young, 5'3", 65-inch reach, going to have a 2-inch reach advantage, 8-2 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Jillian Robertson, she is 25 years old, 5'5", 63-inch reach, 9-5 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. And taking a look at the odds here, Miranda Maverick is minus 140. She opened up minus 195. Jillian Robertson plus 120. She opened up plus 160. So a lot of line movement coming in. Lots of action on the Jillian Robertson side, which kind of confuses me. I mean, Jillian Robertson is somebody that looked awful in her last fight against Taila Santos. Santos dominated her pretty much the whole fight, but I guess we came to realize that Taila Santos is actually like really, really, really good. And Miranda Maverick obviously put on a really good performance in her UFC debut against Luana Jojua, getting the first round TKO doctor stoppage. Jojua had like a cut on her nose. And she looked good in that fight. Her striking looked very improved. And when I think about Miranda Maverick, I think of her as like a grappler, but she went in there and her striking looked fantastic. So I'm glad to see those improvements in the striking. And I'm only assuming she's going to get better. I mean, she's so young at 23 years old. And I kind of thought that Maverick money might be coming in a little bit more because of maybe some hype of the Miranda Maverick side, maybe because of how good she looked and maybe some recency bias, but it looks like that line is closing up as it probably should, because I think this is kind of a close fight. So digging into Miranda Maverick's career, I went back and watched pretty much any fight I could find, And I did see some things that I liked, and I saw some things I did not like, especially pertaining for this matchup. And I've seen her get taken down before. I did not like that. I saw her get reversed on the mat, which I did not like that as well. And this is a fight that I'm like 99% sure that it's going to hit the mat at some point. And at that point, I got to favor Jillian Robertson. And I know belt colors aren't going to really matter here, but Jillian Robertson, she's a legit black belt. That's what she is. Her grappling is her bread and butter. Her striking's pretty much non-existent. She's been working on it a little bit, but her striking's not there. Maverick's going to have a big striking advantage. But when this hits the mat, Jillian Robertson, black belt in BJJ. I want to say Maverick's a purple belt. Not completely sure, but I want to say purple belt. She's a good grappler herself, don't get me wrong, but I just think the grappling from Robertson's on a whole different level. And Maverick's out here getting reversed by some lower level opponents. Not awful opponents, but lower level. So I think this fight's going to be won and lost on the mat here, and I got to favor Jillian Robertson. So I'm going to take Robertson to win. I want to say by submission. And a prop I like, and I always like this prop with Robertson because it seems like she's somebody that she's a killer, be killed fighter. It's either she's out there winning by finish or she's getting finished herself. She's been finished a couple times in her career, and she has a decent finish rate of 78%, which is pretty good for the 125-pound division, and she has been finished 2 times, once by knockout, once by submission as well. Miranda Maverick never been knocked out, never been submitted, but there is a first for everything, and I think that Robertson is legit on the mat. I think that's where it's going to take place, and I'm going to say Robertson chokes out Miranda Maverick. And it's hard to say because I'm a big Maverick guy, but just seeing her get taken down, seeing her get reversed on the mat, just not really good look. And I'm assuming she's making improvements, but this is kind of a big step up going from someone like Luana Jojua, somebody that really shouldn't be in the UFC. I wouldn't be surprised if she was cut already, to Jillian Robertson, somebody that's been in the game for a while, 14 fights on her record, and legit on the mat as well. So give me Jillian Robertson by submission. If Maverick's able to keep this on the feet and stuff the takedowns, yeah, it's Maverick all day, but I just see this touching the mat one way or another. So give me Jillian Robertson by submission, taking the underdog there. All right, and then next we have what could be, I want to say it could be fight of the night. I think this fight's going to be very exciting. 2 guys that have 100% finish rates. Neither guy has won by decision, which is really exciting there. Philip Rowe versus Gabe Green. Rowe is 30 years old, 6'3", 80.5-inch reach, so he's going to have a 7.5-inch reach advantage. He is 7-2 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Gabe Green, 27 years old, 5'10", 73-inch reach, 9-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So taking a look at the odds here, kind of surprising here. Rowe opened up a -130 favorite, currently +115. Gabe Green opened up +100, is currently -135. So money's been pouring in on Gabe Green today. And I'll tell you guys right now, I'll get this out. Like I said, both guys have never won by finish. These guys are just going to stand in the middle and bang. That's what they do. Fight doesn't go to decision, -165. The under 2.5 rounds, -120. And I'll tell you right now, I bet that at +100 like 2 weeks ago. I mean, this is something that's been on my radar for a while. Both guys are really dangerous finishers. Both guys have been finished a decent amount before. I really like the under in this fight, and I don't want to say I'm surprised, but I'm kind of surprised it's set at 2.5 rounds here. So as far as the fight goes, pretty low level, honestly. I mean, not impressed with the Rowe side whatsoever. I'm honestly more impressed with the Gabriel Green side. But this is a low-level fight nonetheless. But I do know one thing. This is going to be an absolute war for as long as it lasts. Gabriel Green came into his UFC debut on really short notice against Daniel Rodriguez, somebody that has looked decent so far in the UFC, and was taking a ton of shots from Rodriguez. His chin definitely held up, and he was also giving shots back. I mean, he landed a ton of shots on Daniel Rodriguez, and he didn't really slow down all that much, at least as I thought he would, coming in on short notice. And actually, I think his stock definitely rose in that loss. I mean, he didn't look awful in that fight against D-Rod, and I really thought Daniel Rodriguez was going to knock him out because Gabe Green's somebody that has been knocked out before. Green has been knocked out 2 times. He's been finished in 2 out of his 3 losses. I remember he got knocked out by Jalen Turner a couple of years ago. And Philip Rowe, he's going to have a big height advantage. He's going to have a big reach advantage. The problem is he doesn't use it. And especially in the small cage here, especially with Gabe Green being so good at being able to close the distance, I think Green is very live to win this fight and very live to get a knockout. I think people are seeing what I'm seeing because I'm seeing a ton of money pour in on Gabriel Green here. And I think he's going to finish Philip Rowe here. I mean, Philip Rowe, somebody that on the Contender Series, he looked fantastic, although he did take a little bit of a beating to start it, but his opponent, Leon Shabazian, kind of gassed out, and he was able to finish him after that. Gabe Green's not going to gas out, at least I don't think. I mean, on short notice, he wasn't really gassed out. He was able to go a clean 3 rounds. He did slow down a little bit, but the pace in that fight was crazy. So in a small cage, in an absolute war, I think there's going to be a finish, and I'm going to pick Gabriel Green to win by knockout. He's going to knock out Philip Rowe. I don't think it touches the mat, but if it does, probably going to favor Gabe Green as well. I've seen Rowe off his back, does not really have much to offer, and Gabe Green actually looks pretty solid on the mat as well. So give me Gabe Green here, and should be like one of the most exciting fights on the card. Not much of guys that have big names, but I do think it's going to be a really fun fight. So next we have Ricky Simone versus Brian Kelleher, a fight that was definitely scheduled before. I've looked into it already, looked into it again a little bit today, and it's a very interesting, very intriguing matchup. Two guys that I really like. I really like Simone. I really like Kelleher quite a bit. And Ricky Simone, he is 28 years old, 5'6", 70-inch reach. Going to have a 6-inch reach advantage. 17-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Brian Kelleher, 34 years old, 5'6", 64-inch reach, 22-11, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So taking a look at the odds, Ricky Simone opened up as a minus 300 favorite and is currently minus 250. Kelleher opened up plus 240, is currently plus 210. So some money is coming in on Kelleher, and I don't want to get all into this matchup. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, we know what Ricky Simone's going to do. He's a fantastic wrestler, averages 7 takedowns per 15 minutes, like some of the best wrestling you'll see in the division. 53% accuracy. Kelleher is more than likely going to get taken down. But the thing with Kelleher is he has one of the nastiest guillotine chokes, and that's something you really got to be aware of. Simone is somebody that has been submitted before, so although I think this is a solid matchup for Simone, it's kind of sketchy. I mean, especially at the line it's really sketchy because he's going to be playing with fire. I mean, taking down Kelleher is playing with fire. We saw Kelleher go out there and submit Ode Osborne by guillotine choke. He finished another opponent. The last guy came in on short notice. He finished him in like the first 30 seconds, shot in a takedown on Kelleher. That's something you really shouldn't do. And, that's something Simone's going to do here. But Simone, he's been in the game for a while. And I think that he's going to get takedowns. He needs to stay safe on top and just watch that neck, man. Watch that neck because Kelleher's really sneaky with it. So I'm definitely leaving out Simone in the parlays. I don't hate anybody taking a shot on Kelleher because he's going to be live. He's going to be live for a guillotine. But really, I think that's his only path to victory. On the feet, yeah, Simone's a little bit chinny. I've heard it a million times. He got knocked out by Uriah Faber. I kind of think that's a fluke. That was his only time knocked out. But I got to go Simone here. Simone, I like the guy a lot, but leave him out of the parlays. Leave him out of the parlays because Kelleher is a dangerous guy. It's hard to count out a guy like Kelleher, but I do see him getting taken down quite a bit of times. And as long as Simone stays safe on top, I think he's going to win a decision here. So give me Ricky Simone by decision in what should be a very exciting fight. All right, next we have Polyana Viana versus Mallory Martin. And, it's a fight. We have a fight here. 27 years old, Mallory Martin, 5'4", 64-inch reach, 7-3, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Polyana Viana, 20 years old, 5'5", 67-inch reach, 11-4, and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Mallory Martin is a slight favorite, minus 155. She opened up minus 180. Polyana Viana opened up plus 150. She is now plus 135. So a little bit of money coming in on the Viana side. Pre-tape, I was leaning really, really heavy towards the Viana side, but after getting into it, this is such a total pass. I mean, this is probably the biggest pass on the card. Mallory Martin is someone who almost lost to Hannah Cifers. She almost lost to Hannah Cifers, and Poly Viana is somebody that actually lost to Hannah Cifers. Just kind of a low-level fight here. Paula Viana is a brown belt in BJJ. World champion in BJJ as well. Very good on the mat, but kind of questionable that she went out there and got submitted in the first round by Veronica Macedo, which was very questionable there. Mallory Martin, brown belt herself, very good grappler, very good wrestler. She got submitted by Jurna Jandaroba, no shame in that whatsoever. And basically what it comes down to me is I think that Mallory Martin's going to go out there and get top control on Viana. Viana's perfectly content off her back. And there were times where Hannah Cifers was in top control on Viana. I remember Viana pulled guard in that Cifers fight, and Cifers was on top for a good, 2-3 minutes, and Cifers was able to stay out of trouble. And I mean, it's Hannah Cifers. She really should have got submitted in that spot. I think if Hannah Cifers can stay safe on top, I think a brown belt and Mallory Martin can stay safe on top, and I think that's where the fight will primarily play out. Both are not great strikers. If I had to give the advantage to anybody in the striking, it'd probably be on the Viana side, but it's very slight. And I see Mallory Martin just taking Viana down at will pretty much, staying safe on top, winning a decision more than likely, maybe a ground and pound finish. But yeah, definitely something you should probably stay away from a betting perspective. This has armbar from guard written all over it. I mean, if there's going to be an armbar from guard happen on this card, it's going to be coming from this fight. So I'm going to take Mallory Martin. Like I said, at first I was on the Viana side, but after digging into it, if Hannah Cifers can stay safe on top, I think that Mallory Martin can. I mean, Mallory Martin, she's legit, but not all that high on her, especially after the Hannah Cifers fight. I mean, because Cifers could have won that fight. The ref could have stopped that fight. Cifers was this close to getting a knockout victory on Mallory Martin, which would have been crazy. But give me Mallory Martin. No action for me, but I am going to pick her to win by decision. All right, next we have Belal Muhammad versus Diego Lima. Muhammad is 32 years old, 5'11", 71-inch reach, going to have a 6-inch reach disadvantage. 17-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Diego Lima is 31 years old, 6'2", 77-inch reach, 15-7 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Taking a look at the odds, Belal Muhammad, a really big favorite, opened up -325, currently -345. Diego Lima opened up +250, currently +285. I didn't want to get into the stats a little bit for this one, so Belal Muhammad, decent output, lands 4.48 significant strikes per minute compared to Diego Lima's 2.84, so almost double there. Muhammad does have a 42% accuracy, and Muhammad does absorb a 3.97. And the thing I don't like with fighters is when they do absorb more than they give out, and that's Diego Lima there. Diego Lima does absorb 2.96 compared to only giving out 2.84. Really big red flag there. As far as the grappling stats go, Belal Muhammad, pretty good wrestler, averages 2.13 takedowns per 50 minutes with a 30% accuracy. Very good takedown defense at 83%. As far as Diego Lima, averages about 1.6 takedowns per 50 minutes, 44% accuracy, and only a 66% takedown defense. So what it comes down to me is I think Belal Muhammad's better pretty much everywhere. I do think he's deserving of this big favorite. I think for Diego Lima to win, it's going to have to be some type of finish, and he's not much of a crazy finisher. 19% knockout rate for Lima, 29% submission rate. Really hard to see him submitting Belal Muhammad. I think Belal Muhammad could win anywhere this fight goes, whether it's on the feet. I think he's going to be the better striker, landing the more output, or whether he takes Diego Lima down. I expect him to stay safe on top. Probably win a decision. I mean, Muhammad's not much of a finisher whatsoever. 30% finish rate, 24% knockout rate, 6% by submission. Give me Belal Muhammad here by decision. I think is a fine parlay piece. But yeah, it's really hard to see a path to victory for Diego Lima. I mean, I don't know, maybe Muhammad can even knock out Lima. Lima's been knocked out 4 times in 7 losses. 4 times in 7 losses. So yeah, definitely on the chinny side. So maybe Muhammad could knock him out. But yeah, like potential parlay piece for me. Muhammad by decision, but the possible knockout upside, I think. All right. Yeah, this should be a really fun fight for as long as it lasts, and it's probably not going to last long, more than likely. We have Rodolfo Vieira versus Anthony Hernandez. Vieira is 31 years old, 6 foot, 73-inch reach, 7-0, obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Anthony Hernandez is 27 years old, 6 foot, 75-inch reach, 7-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Taking a look at the odds here, and Vieira is the biggest favorite on the card. Opened up at -380, currently -400. Hernandez is +325, opened up +315. Yeah, I mean, pretty simple. Both guys are grapplers, but one grappler is, a phenom on the mat. Just take a look at the nickname there, the Black Belt Hunter. They call him the Black Belt Hunter for a reason. Went out there and submitted Black Belt and Oscar Pajota pretty easily. I mean, Pajota was able to survive a little bit, but he was able to submit Pajota there. Anthony Hernandez, I want to say he's a black belt. Last time I checked, he was a brown belt, but that was years ago, so I'm assuming he got that black belt, but it doesn't even matter. I mean, they call him the Black Belt Hunter for a reason, so I wouldn't be shocked if they wanted to feed them Anthony Hernandez, which may or may not be a black belt, but really doesn't matter. I mean, Vieira has levels above. He's levels above in the grappling of Hernandez. Hernandez's path to victory would be to knock out Vieira, to knock him out. And even then, like, Hernandez isn't a knockout guy. He's not at all. I mean, Anthony Hernandez has finished 14% of his wins by knockout, 71% by submission. So the majority of his wins, he's winning them by submission. And I can almost guarantee you he's not going to submit Rodolfo Vieira. And what I like about Vieira is he's obviously a very good grappler. We can talk about that all day, but he has really good wrestling as well. Really good wrestling. And so far within his first couple fights in the UFC, he's averaging 6.05 takedowns per 50 minutes with a really good 55% takedown accuracy. And Hernandez is somebody else that's been using his wrestling as well. He averages about 5 takedowns per 50 minutes, a lot coming in that park fight. A 66% takedown accuracy. So, I mean, he's not going to be able to use that there, but, I mean, go ahead, try to take down Vieira, see what happens. But in this fight, I assume it's going to end early. Both guys are really good finishers. I think Vieira is going to get a takedown, and I think it's going to be over shortly after. I mean, this guy is, levels above a lot of people on the mat, like a legit black belt, one of the best grapplers you'll see. Give me a Vieira here. Give me Vieira by submission. It's really hard to see a path to victory for Hernandez. I mean, I think it's going to have to be some type of fluke knockout, and Hernandez isn't really a knockout guy. So give me Rodolfo Vieira by submission. Should be a fun fight for as long as it lasts. All right, next we have Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Bobby Green, 34 years old, 5'10", 71-inch reach, 27-11-1, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Jim Miller, 37 years old, 5'8", 71-inch reach, 32-15, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Taking a look at the odds. If I can find them, Bobby Green is a -260 favorite, open up -275, and Miller is a +220 underdog, open up +215. So yeah, big favorite, Bobby Green. He's been a kind of a big favorite in his last couple fights. Kind of upset with Bobby Green. Not upset with Bobby Green. I want to say I'm upset with the judges a little bit. I really thought he won his last fight against Thiago Moises. I mean, this is somebody that pretty much doubled the striking output from Thiago Moises, landed the harder shots. Yes, Moises controlled Bobby Green, but did nothing with those takedowns whatsoever. I really thought Bobby Green won that fight, and I did have a bet on Bobby Green by decision. I thought I had it, but it's a Bobby Green fight. It's a Bobby Green fight. The majority of his fights, they go to a decision, and they're close, they're splits. He gets robbed in a lot of fights as well. And, I mean, a lot of these fights he's losing, he probably should have got the nod in a lot of them, but the judges don't like the guy for some reason. So, yeah, definitely leaving Bobby Green out of my parlays. For sure. I mean, I'm not touching this guy, especially at -260. That's just crazy. I do want to get into the stats a little bit. I think this is a pretty solid matchup for Bobby Green, especially, with Jim Miller getting up there in age, 37 years old. Not looking, like the same Jim Miller as of late. But Bobby Green does land 5.17 significant strikes per minute. Tons of output, 51% striking accuracy compared to Jim Miller's only 2.73 with a 40% accuracy. Jim Miller's also absorbing more than he's giving out. Absorbs 2.99 compared to only giving out 2.73. Like I said, it's always a red flag. And he does have a 59% striking defense. As far as the grappling, wrestling goes, this is where it gets scary. This is where it gets really scary. Like, Bobby Green in his last fight against Thiago Moises, what he needed to do was keep this on the feet, but he was going out there taking down Moises. He was taking down Moises, giving Moises his only path to victory. Moises being a black belt. I remember he was taking down Alan Patrick, which I believe is a black belt as well. I mean, I'm kind of scared that Bobby Green's going to come out here and take down Jim Miller, which if he did that, like, you're obviously playing with fire, but I hope he doesn't do that. But you really don't know. Like, Bobby Green has some of the worst IQ I've ever seen in my life, but this is such a winnable matchup for him. So I got to go with him. I'm going to take him to win by decision. He's not much of a finisher, but I would not parlay Bobby Green ever again. Just not trustworthy. It's probably going to be a close decision, and I wouldn't be shocked if he went out there and took down Jim Miller for some reason and got guillotined. But come on, fight smart, Bobby. This is an easy win. Give me Bobby Green by decision, but definitely not touching the money line on that one. All right, so we're at the main card here, and we have Julian Marquez versus Maki Potolo, Coconut Bombs. Marquez is 30 years old, 6'2", 72-inch reach, 7-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. The one loss coming to Alessio Di Chirico in a really close fight. A lot of people thought he won that fight, so very well could be on a 5-fight win streak, I guess. Maki Potolo, 30 years old, 5'10", 73.5-inch reach, 13-7, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. And we'll take a look at the odds here. Julian Marquez opened up minus 185, currently minus 165, and Maki Potolo is plus 145, opened up plus 155. So I see a ton of love from Maki Potolo. I see a lot of money coming in on him, and I don't know why. I don't know why. Like, watching the tape on these guys, I understand that Marquez is coming off of a really big layoff, like a really long layoff, like 2.5-year layoff. But, checking his Instagram, he looks in fantastic shape, looks in really good shape. I think he's going to come in here prepared, but it's always a concern. The cage rust, it is a concern, long layoff. But, man, has Maki Potolo crapped the bed more times than not. I mean, this is somebody that came into his UFC debut as a minus 345 favorite against Callan Potter, and he got outworked by Callan Potter. Potter was able to absorb the shots. Potolo slowed down a ton, and Potter won the fight. Next fight, he beat a Charles Byrd that is not in the UFC currently. The fight after that, lost to one Darren Stewart by submission, which that was Darren Stewart's first submission in his career. I remember that night. Somebody in my Discord hit the Darren Stewart by submission. It was like plus 1,600. I could not believe what I was seeing. I mean, that was his first submission ever. And then he lost to Impa Kasagne. We all know Impa, a decent prospect. In that fight, it looked like he just did not want to be there. I mean, it looked like he did not want to fight. Started out the fight looking solid, but just kind of quit, it looked like, towards the end, or he got really tired or something. But it just did not look like he wanted to be there. So far in the UFC, he's 1-3 with his one win coming against the Charles Byrd. So for people to have confidence in this guy and to bet this guy, I don't know what people are seeing. Like, Julian Marquez, at least he looks solid. He looked solid, at least for, when I saw him. But like I said, he hasn't fought in a long time. The last time he did fight was in 2018, July 6th. So yeah, it's been a long time. But Marquez is somebody that's dangerous. Very good finisher. I do think there's going to be a finish in this fight. I know the under is set at 1.5. Probably not going to touch it there, but I can't tell you I think this fight's going to finish. Marquez has a 100% finish rate, 71% by knockout, 29% by submission. Potolo, 77% finish rate. And Potolo's been finished 4 times. 2 by knockout, 2 by submission. And he's been finished in 4 out of his 7 losses. I like Marquez here. I know it's a risk with the long layoff. I'm not going to bet it. If the line keeps coming down, if I can get it like Marquez minus 120, minus 110 somehow, I might pull the trigger then. But I get it. I get the layoff. It is a risk. But Marquez, I do believe, is a better fighter. And honestly, I'm kind of shocked Potolo's still in the UFC. And if he does lose this fight, it could be his last one. That means he would be going 1-4 in the UFC. But Potolo's somebody that slows down a ton. His hands are good, they are, but he slows down a lot. If he's not going to get that first round finish, I don't see him winning this fight. When it comes to the ground game, I think Marquez has a pretty sneaky ground game. I think he has the better ground game as well. If Darren Stewart can submit you, this guy can submit you for sure. So give me Marquez. I want to say by finish. I'm going to say by second round knockout, but just not putting my money on it. But I do think this does finish. All right, next we have probably one of the best fights on the card, Jimmy Rivera versus Pedro Munoz. This is a rematch. The last time they fought, Jimmy Rivera did win, and I want to say it was in like 2014 or 2015. Watched that fight a couple days ago. Pretty good fight. Jimmy Rivera, he is 31 years old, 5'4", 68.5-inch reach, 23-4, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Pedro Munoz is 34 years old, 5'6", 65-inch reach, 18-5, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Another guy that kind of cost me money. I had Munoz in a parlay when he fought Frankie Edgar, and I really thought that Munoz won. I thought he landed the harder shots. He landed the more volume. He landed like 20 more significant strikes in him. Outlanded him in pretty much every round, I think, besides like one round. I think Edgar outlanded him in a round, but it is what it is. As far as this fight goes, I'm sticking with Rivera. I think he's going to, go 2 for 2 here against Pedro Munoz. Pretty high on Rivera. I mean, Rivera is somebody that, what I like about him the best is that takedown defense of his. One of the best takedown defenses I've ever seen. I want to say it's like 92%. 92% takedown defense. I mean, this guy is so hard to take down. In his last fight against Cody Stamann, I want to say Stamann took him down maybe once. Definitely wasn't able to hold him down, but his takedown defense is legit. Pedro Munoz has a really good submission game. I think we're not even going to have to worry about that. We're not going to have to worry about the submission game at all because it's not touching the mat. Unless Rivera wants to shoot for a takedown for some reason, but that would be the dumbest thing ever because Pedro Munoz does have a very, very good ground game. But I don't think we're going to see it. So we're not going to worry about that. I think it's going to be striking for the majority of the time. What I do notice and what I do want to point out is how hittable Munoz is. Munoz is somebody that does absorb more than he's giving out. He absorbs 6.03. That is a ton. Significant strikes per minute. A lot of that is coming from the Sterling fight, but still absorbs a lot. Only lands 5.53, which is a lot, but like I said, he's getting hit more than he gives out with a 58% striking defense. I think Rivera is the better striker here. I think he's the better boxer. I think he's going to throw more output in this fight. I think he's the faster fighter as well. I think Munoz is really going to struggle with the speed of Rivera. And yeah, I like Rivera here. I like Rivera by decision. The thing with Rivera is he's not dangerous whatsoever. One of the worst finish rates I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's 26%, 17% by knockout, 9% by submission. I like Rivera. I like him by decision. So I might look at that. I might look at that decision prop. I don't know yet, but I might look at the decision prop because Pedro Munoz in 23 fights, he's never been knocked out. He's never been submitted. Very durable guy. So yeah, give me Jimmy Rivera by decision. If I can get it like plus money, I might take a look. But yeah, I do like Jimmy Rivera to get it done here in the rematch and beat him once more. All right. Yeah, like I said, the ghost of Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch. Gastelum is 29 years old, 5'9", 71.5-inch reach, 16-6, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Ian Heinisch is 32 years old, 5'11", 72-inch reach, 14-3, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. I'm not sure if I said the odds for Rivera, but Rivera is minus 145 and Munoz is plus 125. But yeah, Gastelum is minus 225. He opened up minus 250, and Ian Heinisch is plus 185, opened up plus 190. Kind of expected the line to come down a little bit because of how bad Gastelum's been looking and because Ian Heinisch is a very likable fighter. Lots of hype on this guy. People really like the hype, so kind of surprised the line's not closing up a little bit, but it's a tough fight to call. I mean, and Gastelum's been looking awful, but we got to look at who he's been looking awful against. Against Jack Hermanson, against Darren Till, he looked awful. I mean, both guys looked awful in my opinion. They didn't really throw anything. Really boring fight there. And then, of course, he lost to Israel Adesanya in an absolute 5-round war and one of the best fights I've ever seen. So, look, those are the guys he's been losing to in the last 3 fights, so really no shame in that. And then Ian Heinisch is a guy that's been looking decent. In his last fight, was able to get that early finish of Gerald Meerschaert, I believe. I believe that was his last fight. But he knocked out Gerald Meerschaert in his last fight, looking really good in that. He was supposed to fight Brendan Allen. I don't think that ever happened. Pulled out. Somebody pulled out in that fight, but would have really liked to see that fight. But yeah, now fighting Kelvin Gastelum here. Yeah, it's a tough fight because I don't know whether Gastelum is like extremely washed, but he's only 29 years old. That's the thing. So I think it might be a level of competition thing. I think he really needs to get his career back on track. Obviously, this could be a fight to do it. And I kind of feel like it's a bad stylistic matchup for Heinisch. I mean, I don't see Heinisch taking Gastelum down. Gastelum has really good takedown defense. And on the feet, I got to favor Gastelum. The gas tank goes to Gastelum as well. Going to have a much better gas tank. Going to be throwing the more output. I think he's a better striker as well. But Heinisch has that heart. He has that heart. He has that grit. And could that be enough to beat Gastelum? I mean, maybe it could. So I'm going to take who I think is the better fighter. But, I mean, like, no confidence in this one. He's been looking bad, but I think it might be like a low of competition thing. And we're really going to see where Gastelum is at, because I do think this is a big step up in competition for Ian Heinisch. I mean, Gastelum is somebody that's been fighting guys like I mentioned, Adesanya, Jack Hermanson, guys like that, Darren Till. So definitely a step down in competition for Gastelum, a step up for Heinisch. I'm going to take the guy taking a step down in competition in Kelvin Gastelum to win by decision. I think he's going to be the fresher guy throughout the fight and win probably a close decision, but just not laying my money on that one. I think something you would definitely want to stay away from. All right, next we have the co-main event. Why is this the co-main event, you ask? I really don't know. We have Maycee Barber versus Alexa Grasso, probably because they want to promote these fighters, 2 young fighters, 2 decent names as well. Maycee Barber, 22 years old, very young, 5'5", 65-inch reach, 8-1. Her one loss coming to Roxanne Modafferi, which we'll talk about a little bit more, but she is 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Alexa Grasso, 27 years old, 5'5", 66-inch reach, 12-3, 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Taking a look at the odds on this one, and I'm kind of surprised because, you know, Maycee Barber's a big name, lots of hype on her. Maybe the hype train's derailed a little bit, but Maycee Barber was a big favorite in the Roxanne Modafferi fight. She closed at like minus 1,000. minus 1,000 in that fight. And yes, she did get injured. She tore ACL, took a decent sized layoff, and finally coming back here. I do expect her to be probably 100% here. And this is such a tough fight to call. I think this is probably the toughest fight to call on the entire card, in my opinion. Because watching tape on Barber, like, she's so hittable. She is so hittable. JJ Aldrich was able to win a round on her as well, which I did not like to see. But she's aggressive. She's strong. She's going to be the stronger fighter in this fight. She's going to be the more aggressive fighter in this fight. And I've been going back and forth on this one. Grasso is somebody that's 27 years old. She's young herself. She is improving. We're seeing massive improvements each and every fight from her. And I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of output. I think Barber's going to be landing the harder strikes as well. In the smaller cage, who does it favor? I'm going to say it favors Barber. I think she's going to be able to clinch up with Grasso. Like I said, being the stronger fighter, I think she's going to be landing the more convincing shots. I think the judges are going to look at that. But Grasso's going to be bringing the volume. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a 50-50 fight. And for that reason, I'm going to slightly lean with the underdog. I think if there's takedowns either way, it probably comes from the Barber side, honestly. And both fighters, well, Grasso especially, has struggled with their ground game. I know Barber was taken down by Roxanne Modafferi, but like I said, she was kind of compromised there. But Grasso has struggled with that ground game. Grasso does have a 63% takedown defense. So I think Barber could get takedowns here. I think she is going to be stronger in the clinch. And she's dangerous. She's a dangerous fighter. She's finished 88% of her wins. Grasso's finished 33%. Grasso's never been knocked out, but I'm going to take Barber. I don't feel good about this pick whatsoever. I was leaning Grasso at one point, but just digging into it a little bit more, I'm going to take the Barber side ever so slightly in a very close fight. I'm going to take the underdog, but really can go either way. It's all going to be up to what the judges favor. The judges are going to be favoring the harder, more convincing shots of Barber, or the judges are going to be favoring the volume of Grasso and how much she lands, because she's probably going to land a lot with the striking defense liabilities of Barber. But should be a good fight, I guess. Why is it co-main event? I don't know. But give me Macy Barber by, I'll say decision. I'll say Grasso hangs in there by decision, but wouldn't be shocked if she got a finish. All right, main event time. And just want to remind you guys to tune into the live stream, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Going to be talking the weigh-ins, bets, all that good stuff, DraftKings, all that good stuff. So tune in there. And hopefully, knock on wood, all fights stay on the card. I know we're in Vegas. Crazy stuff's been happening, but hopefully we get to keep all the fights here. And hopefully they don't add any more, because I hate when they do that after I already get my content out. But we have the main event here. Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. Kamaru Usman is 33 years old, 6 foot, 77.5-inch reach, going to have a 6.5-inch reach advantage, which is huge. 17-1, and he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Gilbert Burns, 34 years old, 5'10", 71-inch reach, 19-3, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Taking a look at the odds, Kamaru Usman is minus 280, open up minus 245. Gilbert Burns is plus 240, open up plus 185. And I get it. There's going to be a lot of people on Burns. I get it. There's hype on him. People love the hype. Just like last week, a lot of people were on Overeem. But, man, you got to go with the better fighter. I mean, I think this is such a good matchup for Kamaru Usman here, and a really tough matchup for Gilbert Burns. I mean, just looking at the level of competition that Burns has been fighting, and yes, he took out Woodley, but at that point, Kamaru Usman already took Woodley's soul. I mean, Woodley has not looked the same since that Kamaru Usman fight, and Burns is out there beating guys like a 41-year-old Damian Maia, Gunnar Nelson, awful matchup there, Alexei Konchenko, Mike Davis, Mercier, lost to Dan Hooker. I mean, this level of competition is definitely apparent here. And as far as the matchup, I do want to get into some of the stats because I do think they're important. Kamaru Usman lands a lot of significant strikes per minute, 4.5 with a 53% accuracy, and he only absorbs 2.3, which is fantastic. 58% striking defense compared to Burns, lands 3.15, 46% striking accuracy. Somebody that absorbs more than he gives out. He absorbs 3.27 compared to only landing 3.15. 56% striking defense. And Burns is somebody that has improved his striking tremendously over the past couple fights. His striking is getting better and better and better. But, like, what's that going to matter when Kamaru Usman can, hold you up against the cage? You know what I mean? Kamaru Usman, 3.38 takedowns per 50 minutes, 47% takedown accuracy, 100% takedown defense, which I think is a very huge fight, very huge stat in this fight. 100% takedown defense. I kind of saw him get taken down once by Damian Maia, but they didn't count the takedown, didn't hold him down long enough. But 100 takedown defense none the least. Gilbert Burns, pretty solid wrestling actually, averages 2.21 takedowns per 50 minutes with a 37% takedown accuracy, and Burns does have a 50% takedown defense. I get it. Kamaru Usman, he's a boring fighter. A lot of people think he's probably the most boring fighter in the UFC. People hate these boring guys. He's not likable. I get it. Marty Snoozman, I get it. But, man, I like this matchup for him. I think he's going to have more ways to win than one. I think on the feet, it's close. On the feet at range, I guess you could favor Burns ever so slightly. I do like the volume of Usman, though, but I don't think it's going to be at range for long. I mean, Usman's somebody that can hold you up against the cage, make the fight very boring. He has he doesn't care if the fight's boring or not. We saw it in the Jorge Masvidal fight. He will hold you up against the cage for 25 minutes. He does not care. He will foot stomp all he wants, to get the win. And I don't think he needs to take down Gilbert Burns in this fight. Can he take down Burns? Absolutely. Gilbert Burns will actually welcome the takedown, but I don't think he needs to. And if he does, I guess he's playing with fire, but he has like really good top control, and it's hard to really see Burns getting something off his back. And I think that's Burns' one path to victory. A submission off his back, maybe getting reversal, but even then, like I see him, it's really hard to get a reversal on Usman, I believe. So, limited path to victory for Burns. I mean, how's Burns gonna win? I think it's gonna be by submission. I know Usman's been submitted before. It was like in 2009, though 2010, so long ago. Usman's on a big win streak. I like Usman here. I like him here pretty comfortably, but it's going to be kind of a contrarian pick, and I say that in a weird way because he's like such a big favorite, but I feel like so many people are going to be on Burns, and I got a lot of crap for picking against the hype. Volkov against Overeem last week, and then picked against Yusuf Zalal. It seems like these hyped guys are always really overvalued, but it's kind of weird seeing Burns at such a big underdog here. So I think more money's going to come in on Burns as the fight goes on. So I'm not going to pull the trigger on Usman yet, but I think he's a fine parlay piece. I'm just struggling to find a path to victory for Burns. Is he going to knock out Usman? Is he going to be the first one to knock out Usman? I don't think so. I think it's going to have to be by some type of submission. So if you're on the Burns side, I guess Burns by submission, but I'm going to take Usman here. I'm going to say he wins by decision. Usman's not much of a finisher at all. 42% finish rate, 37% by knockout. I think he's going to make the fight very boring. I think we're going to see a ton of people complain on Twitter, oh, he's so boring. But boring sometimes wins the fights, and that's what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for a winner. Would I like Gilbert Burns to win? Of course. I mean, I'm not much of a Usman guy myself. I like Burns a lot, but picking a winner here, I'm going to go with Kamaru Usman to get it done by decision. All right, that's about it. Just want to quickly go over my picks. Kamaru Usman, Macy Barber, Kelvin Gastelum, Jimmy Rivera, Julian Marquez, Bobby Green, Rodolfo Vieira, Bilal Muhammad, Mallory Martin, Ricky Simone, Gabe Green, Jillian Robertson, and Chris Gutierrez. That's about it. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me. Kind of a longer video. Got timestamps and all that. If you guys can like the video, would really help out a ton. Subscribe if you have not yet. Trying to reach that 10,000 subscriber goal. Need like 500 more subs. So if you guys do watch my content, if you do enjoy it, please hit the sub button. It helps out a lot. If you do want to support me more, sign up on the Patreon. You'll get early access to my bets, my model with all the stats for all the fighters, my betting breakdown videos, my betting article, and then my Patreon only live stream on Saturday. And of course, access to Discord really helps me out. And that's about it. If you guys want to talk more, you can hit me up on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. Comment below who you guys got. I'm assuming we're going to have a lot of Burns guys. I get it, but I'm going to go with Usman there. Let me know what you guys' favorite bet is. I gave out a bet already. I gave out I really like the under on the Gabe Green and Philip Rowe. But yeah, let's get it. Had a good week last week. Hopefully keep it going on this week. And good luck, guys, and talk to you very, very soon.